The Maid Dragon series is seriously trying to make me replace Elma with Lukua as the best girl of the series, but I'm not going to fall yet. I love my Elma. But yeah, this is my impressions on the 6th episode of Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid S. So let's jump right into it. So we actually had 3 different vantage points with this particular episode. One being around Shota and Lukua, one being around Kana and Riko, and one being around Makoto and Fafner. So starting off things with Shota and Lukua, he's basically trying to get rid of her. She's very, very clingy. She's obviously doing very inappropriate things around him. So he's trying to find a weakness in her. So he starts setting up little cameras to keep an eye on her, and obviously she decides to lose her clothes because she finds it more comfortable. But yeah, he pretty much thinks that it's clothes that's her weakness, and he gets her a shirt that she rips. Tries bitter coffee, that fails miserably. Tries out a scary dog, but he's more afraid of it. And that's when he approaches Toru to basically see if she knows a weakness. And she's like, yeah, I think it's, what's her weakness in combat was her chest. And then she moves to liquor. That liquor would be able to, she can't resist it, she can't hold it, so poison it. And she's like, no, that'll kill her. This is when he kind of points out to Toru, and this is where it kind of shifts from the comedy, as usual, to the more wholesome aspects. And this is where he kind of points out that she doesn't respect him, and that's why he wants to get back at her. And Toru's like, no, she respects you. It's obvious. I mean, she hasn't left yet. She wants to stay with you, and that shows that she does care about you, kind of thing. And so this kind of goes into transition with him leaving there because Lukua showed up, and Lukua basically says, you know, if you want to know a weakness, I could tell you it. It's me losing a home. And that's when you find out that apparently she messed up in her homeland and was kicked out of her homeland. So she's never really wanted to settle down anywhere because she was afraid of losing a home again. And that's when she ends up finding Shota. And she kind of points out the idea that she was kind of drawn to him because of his determination, his overextending himself, and that's what she kind of attached to. This is her new home, and she doesn't really want to leave it. So, again, very, very cute little wholesome end to the whole situation. But yeah, I of course technically liked Lukua early on just because heterochromia. I love heterochromia, but yeah, I fell in love with Elma, and now it's like trying to draw me back to Lukua. She's too cute. She's great, but yeah, again, you kind of question mark the aspect of what she's doing around this boy, obviously. But the thing that kind of hangs off from this particular story is Shota still being upset by the fact that she treats him like a child. I mean, stop acting like a child, you'll stop being treated like a child. But hey, that's the perspective of a child. But this kind of transitions to Makoto, who Makoto's trying to currently figure out a way to getting Fafner out of the house for a little while because his parents are visiting. And Fafner, being the gamer that he is now, doesn't want to leave. He's like, no, I don't want to leave. I have this grinding to do. Don't worry about me. And so Makoto's trying to figure out a way of pushing him out. And he starts, calling different people to get an idea of what would make him able to get him to leave, get him to do what he needs him to do. And that leads to him contacting Toru. Toru is like, you're going to have to force him with might. You have to use force. You have to use force. And that's like, no, that's not going to happen. This is Fafner we're talking about. And it was funny because the entire time she's saying that, she's like devastated. Like, yes, you have to use force. She's terrified that even mentioning the idea of going against Fafner. Well, that leads to her, like, you can check with Luca. Maybe Luca knows a way of dealing with it. He doesn't have any way of getting a hold of Luca, so he ends up contacting Shota through this game. And that's, again, where we have that carryover of the story with Shota, and that he pretty much bargains with Makoto, and that he can show him a way, but in return, he wants him to show him how to become a cool man, because this is one of those goofy things where sometimes I forget that Makoto has 2 sides of him: the nerdy side, which the buck teeth and the glasses, and the other side when he's actually working, he looks more kind of presentable and clean. But yeah, you always seen this presentable, clean self, so he wants to be this cool person like Makoto. But yeah, in the return, he's like, you call him Faf, and that's a nickname, so you've already done the first step to creating, basically making him a familiar, like binding him in a pact. So all you have to do is use this mana thing, and you can create a pact with him. And he's like, okay, we'll try that out. But then, again, It goes from being silly to more wholesome. Makoto basically confronts Fafner, and he doesn't make that pact. He just chucks the mana ball to him. He's like, here, and he eats it. So obviously this wasn't something that Makoto wanted to handle by forcing Fafner, and that was kind of sweet. But this is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting. It kind of goes in that area of melding the human realm with the dragon realm, and Fafner's like pointing out the idea of like, what do you think makes a child? Because he's talking about Shota and what he wants him to help him with. And he's like pointing out the idea of, what do you think makes an adult? And he's like, somebody that matures. And he's like, that's not something in the dragon realm. The dragon realm does not have this concept of children and adult. This is something that they have mimicked in the human realm and attached to in order to fit in, but they don't have that concept. That concept is not in their mindset. And he points out the idea of why he allowed him to give him a nickname, which everybody's blown away by, is the fact that he just wanted to fit in. So that's essentially what it feels like he's kind of getting to a conclusion of, is that the only reason he allowed that is because he's trying to fit in. Now, the question's going to come up, did Fafner say that because he wants him to believe that he's trying to fit in and that's the only reason he allowed it? And cover up the aspect that, he just wants to be his friend? I don't know. Fafner's given off a little bit of tsundere at this point, so we might just go with that concept. It's Fafner's tsundere. I didn't know that was a thing, but babaka. So we'll see. We'll see if that comes back later. But yeah, then that's when he gets what he wanted from this game and says, if you beat me in this game, I'll be vacant. I'll leave here. So yeah, and then we kind of round out the episode with Riko and Kana going on a trip, a really long trip. I was a little surprised by that. But yeah, some boys talk about how he went to the bend of this river and that they could never do it, and Kana accepts the challenge, and now, or not Kana, but Riko accepts the challenge, so they have to go on a little trip with each other. This is really cute because obviously this is kind of playing in the whole thing of Rika being obsessed with Kana. Had a lot of really funny moments, like when she first showed that she has his camera to take a picture of the whole scene for evidence. She goes to take a picture of Kana, and this newspaper flies on Kana, and she's a little tisk thing. Drops her fork. Kana has a spare chopsticks. Tick again. I was curious because, and this might be like an inside joke thing, I don't really know, but they had this random guy they ran into that was sitting on the side of the walkway, and they kicked the soccer ball on his head, and he immediately yells Nirvana and runs up the bin. I'm curious if that's one of those. Sometimes in anime they do that, like, well, a lot of media does this, but that little thing where they reference somebody, sometimes somebody that's within the actual production group. So I wonder if that's maybe that guy's a reference to somebody, but I didn't catch the reference. I'm assuming it's a reference, but I'm sure at some point we'll find out. It just seemed very out of place. Just the guy himself seemed very out of place. But yeah, they get to the end, and then they get a picture taken by some old people, and they talk about how this was a bin that was created in order to change the currents because they were trying to fight off floods and stuff. And that's when Kana kind of mentions the idea of, I wonder if I'll ever change. And yeah, it was kind of a brief moment of realizing she might at some point change her ways, but it was cute. They also ran into Elma at some point, who was taking a bath out there. And Rika wanted to take a picture, and Kana gets in the middle, the way of it, and it's like you have that moment where she's gonna go, "Hey, get out of the way of the picture," but no, she like stops and goes, "Wait, that's cute." Can't move the camera. So yeah, we'll see where the next episode leads. I'm assuming we're probably gonna get the parents meeting Fafner. I don't doubt that that's gonna happen. Maybe some goofy scenes with Shota being taught how to be a cool man. He's already pretty much presented to him that he has this nerdy side. It's his point is the idea of the outward appearance rather than the inward appearance. So it's changing your outer appearance to make yourself look cool. But yeah, just a lot of, as usual, a lot of really wholesome moments in this episode. Some really cute moments. Very much so unfocused around Toru and Kobayashi, which is kind of surprising. Giving a lot of attention to the outside characters. So we'll see where it goes from here. Very cute, though. Really love this episode. More insights into Lokua. I don't remember if they ever got into what Lokua did in order to get kicked out of her homeland. So maybe in the future we can get Lokua's story. But yeah, more Fafner is great. I think Fafner is one of the most unutilized characters in this series, and I think that's mainly because he's always just playing games. But I mean, I had a lot of fun with him in the first season with them. Like the first phone call that that Toru got from Fafnir was just priceless. So yeah, his appearance is always great, just because he's he can destroy everything kind of thing. he is literally death incarnate. So and everybody's terrified of him. But yeah, great episodes as always. I absolutely adore this series. If you guys not guessed it by now, but I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions of the 6th episode of Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid S. As always, if you guys like this video, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you can, please consider supporting us on Patreon, and y'all take care.